Nowadays, we take practically everything for granted, even those movements we make every day, for example, when we turn the wheels of our car. But do you know what's behind it and what the secrets of this movement are? We'll discover them together. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Rossi Automotive channel here with this new video. Today we embark on the world of steering. We will discover all its secrets, its peculiarities, and above all, we will understand why certain technologies are no longer used while others are preferred. In this video, moreover, you will see clips that will talk about future videos, for example, about our Cupra, the Mini. There will be really a lot to see. Our steering box is one of those components that, looking at them from the outside, seem a bit all the same, but in reality, over the decades, it has changed a great deal. The assistance it gives us for our driving has changed. Hydraulic assistance, electric assistance, and today, thanks to the company Freccia, which by the way is the sponsor of this video, we will see the boxes as you have practically never seen them in this type that is open box, meaning you can see exactly how they work. So today we are going to see some of their secrets, and above all, I will tell you at the end of the video, when we start to have problems with our steering boxes, what is the best solution to implement to avoid them bothering us in the future? Okay, but what type of steering box can we have in our cars? Well, honestly, there aren't many, there are three. One, among other things, that is no longer used. And which one is it? The first is the direct one. Perhaps it's on some super sports cars like the Alfa Romeo 4C that is without assistance, a box like this, steering column and steering wheel. Everything the asphalt does, you feel it. You only find it in truly extreme situations. By now, we are all too accustomed to having extreme driving comfort. The second is hydraulic, and the third is obviously electric. Let's go into detail and talk about the first one, which is the hydraulic one. How does it work? This is the hydraulic one. How do we understand that? Well, simply from the pipes that are attached to the box itself, and obviously with the inlet and outlet pipes for our oil. But to manage a steering box, what do you need? Obviously, a very important component, which is a pump that pressurizes the hydraulic fluid that allows our box to let us turn the steering wheel without feeling any effort. But how does it do it? Our pump can be driven by two things, by the way, by our engine, or it can be an electro-hydraulic pump. This was mounted, for example, on some old Peugeots. When we turn the steering wheel, our pump, driven by our internal combustion engine or even by the electric motor, sends the oil under pressure to our steering box where the heart of the system is, and it's precisely this where our rotary valve is. It's a slotted valve that misaligns when we turn our steering wheel. This causes our oil to be directed to the right or to the left. That is based on how we are turning our steering wheel. And where does this oil end up? It ends up on the piston, and as you can see here centrally we have this little piston that goes left or right based obviously on how we turn. Thanks to our rotary valve, and it pressurizes the part where we want to turn our steering wheel. If we turn it like this, the oil from this pipe here will go under pressure on this side so as to make our box turn easily and practically helping us thanks to fluid dynamics. What happens on the other side instead? This part here will go into discharge and therefore will practically return to our pump where the reservoir is, where our hydraulic oil is. If instead we turn this way, things are reversed. The oil under pressure will go this way to push the piston, our box moves, and on this side obviously it will go into discharge. Obviously, needless to say, this part here where we have this gearing is called a rack with its pinion. It mechanically moves the box right and left. In fact, if you have ever disassembled a hydraulic steering box, what you will notice is that we always have a high pressure delivery pipe and a return pipe that goes towards our reservoir, towards our pump, which obviously is, in a few words, the return of our hydraulic fluid. When we are straight and we don't move the steering, what happens instead? This is the magic that our valve does. its slots are aligned, so the oil recirculates. As soon as we move our steering, the slots misalign and boom, we immediately have assistance to our steering. And with all this stuff here, do we also have pros and cons? Well, of course, yes. Having a hydraulic pump that is always turning, there is a very fast and incredible response from the point of view of driving assistance, so the response is very rapid. You have a better mechanical sensation of the asphalt, and it is used above all on rather heavy cars, so it is robust and easily repairable. And the cons? We have a pump that is always running, so it consumes a bit, it makes you consume a bit of fuel. It obviously has some maintenance because the fluid needs to be changed, so maintenance, and then over time, if it wears out, it loses some effectiveness, so loss of performance. It's a system that obviously has made history, but it also has its years, and for example, if a very simple pipe breaks, you practically have to be a bodybuilder to be able to turn the steering wheel of your car because it becomes very stiff. Let's go see its new generation sister, that is the electric one, because it can actually do a few more things. And here it is, but didn't you say electric? Yes, very true. But let's say that on one hand, we've kind of returned to our origins. Why? Because on cars with electric power steering, we could find our old mechanical steering box. And where is our motor? There are a few cases there too. We could have it in these situations here. Here we have our nice steering wheel with the steering column, and attached here directly is our electric motor. And then we have another linkage to get to our steering box. Another different configuration for our electric boxes could be like this. Steering wheel, a nice large steering column, obviously with all the necessary joints, and here, attached directly to our box, is our electric motor. In this case, no oil, no pump, only sensors, control units, electricity, and a bit of technique and technology. What do we need to make our electric steering box work in terms of sensors or accessories? Obviously, a torque sensor. This here is the sensor that detects how much effort we are exerting on our steering wheel and informs our control unit, which is never missing. Our control unit sends an input to our electric motor. The more effort we put on our torque sensor, the more the whole system understands that we need assistance during our steering. As you can see, the electric steering box has nothing. It only has the box itself, the body, the casing that holds the frame of our steering box, pinion and rack, nothing more, and everything turns based on the effort that the motor will put in. It's as if we had a second arm that is waiting for someone to say either give a hand to the right or give a hand to the left. What is this thing you see at the bottom? This is nothing more than a bushing that practically prevents play and keeps our entire rack well aligned within the box casing. Then you know better than I do, with electronics come the magic tricks. That is, let's look at the pros and cons of this type of electric box that all new generation cars now use. And what is the primary reason why practically everyone installs the electric steering box, having abandoned the hydraulic one? It's the integration with ADAS systems, driver assistance. Because obviously, with electronics also comes the brain, so our control unit can say, today, don't steer right or left based on how I'm reading the lane lines on the road. And unfortunately, hydraulics can't do this because it's only mechanical and there's no brain reasoning about it. With its pros and cons there too. Another pro is obviously less consumption. Perhaps the most important pro is that there is no type of wear, so there is no maintenance. And the cons? You can already imagine the cons yourself, especially what is the first con. If this whole shebang breaks, higher cost. Obviously, it's the opposite of before. It has a less mechanical driving sensation. You feel the asphalt a little less, so less driving pleasure. Another dilemma, especially for those who may not understand electronics and the functioning of steering boxes, is that it's a bit more difficult to diagnose if we actually have a problem with the box, an electrical problem, all those little things. So let's get to the point of this video. When the steering boxes in our cars start to precisely become a pain, what is the best solution to implement? In my opinion, it's better to buy a new box and not a reconditioned one. And there's a reason for all this. Obviously, with a new one, everything is new. Whereas with a reconditioned one, what is the only component they can't recondition, because everything inside, the arms, all those things can be reconditioned. So it's just the body, the casing of our steering box. And what can happen? A story already seen in the workshop. You never know where the steering box comes from. It can come from a salvage car, a car that has had an accident, and maybe a micro crack has formed. Well, you go and install it, and then what happens? Maybe in the long run our casing cracks because there was a micro crack that couldn't be seen. Since the steering is a fundamental component for our safety, I wouldn't save even €1 on this. And if you think that a new box can cost a fortune compared to a reconditioned one, maybe it's because you don't know the company Freccia International, which has been active since 1923, where they can offer you any type of new steering box at super competitive prices compared to a reconditioned one. But not only steering boxes, also those components that are often hard to find for our cars. They make them, for example, piston ring kits, pistons, valves, shock absorbers, cylinder heads, the very famous oil pumps that we have already seen extensively, drive shafts, axle shafts, and obviously steering boxes cannot be missing forever from you will surely find what you are looking for. So I advise you to go to their website to see everything they can provide for your car. But I'll tell you a secret, very often all these are OE components, original equipment components that they make themselves. In the end, car manufacturers do nothing but put their brand on them. So when you look for this type of component from your parts dealer, Freccia International. Ladies and gentlemen, we have also reached the end of this video. I hope that for those questions we ask ourselves every day, I have managed, for example, to give you the answer. So what should you do in this case? Always the same thing, that is the like button, subscribe to the channel, and obviously also activate the bell, and we will always meet here on the Rossi Automotive channel with other new videos. So please click the buttons and share with all your friends. Bye.